Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Green Heart Wellbeing Podcast. Today is the day that I'm supposed to release the podcast. I don't even know what time it is just now. Let me check. It is 1:45, so I realised I hadn't recorded it yet, so here I am. Hence why, if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm maybe looking a bit Sunday, a bit relaxed, and a bit dishevelled. But anyway, here we are. I had a whole schedule planned out, and I'm going to get to that starting again next week. But to be honest, I've decided to put in this episode to begin the year with because it's around this time of year I get so many messages. To be honest, through Instagram and LinkedIn, this is the topic I get the most messages about. It's about leaving teaching, and I really love the fact that people ask me about it. There's always similar questions that come up. There's the same fear that always comes up, and I love to chat to people about it. But one of the other important things that I want to emphasize, and I share this with everyone who gets in touch with me, is how coaching can support through that transition. Like when I was considering leaving teaching, I sought coaching services from other people despite already being qualified as a coach myself, because sometimes you need that impartial person out with your friendship group, out with your professional group, just to talk through it and help empower you through it. And that's the thing that I kind of balance with when people get in touch, is I can mentor someone through it, but also I feel like the coaching approach is really powerful because it helps empower the coachee through the process. So you're going through it with a more empowered way. Of course, I can tell you all the steps that I did, but again, everybody's pathway is different to leaving teaching. So anyway, leaving teaching and how coaching can support the transition. That's what this episode is about. And if you're in Dubai or the UAE, this is the time of the year where schools are asking you for your intention for the following academic year. Some schools have already had to have that signed in, sent back in and signed in the first week back. So that would have been last week on Friday, which is a lot, because then you're signing up for the whole year and a half ahead of your life, So yeah, and I want to just chat through some of the commonly asked things that I get asked, and my approach and how coaching can help. So hopefully this episode will be useful. There's a few other episodes as well. If you scroll back, you'll see other ones that talk about similar things, but obviously recorded at a different point in my life, so there might be useful things in there as well. Okay, I always hear, I'm looking at my screen just to make sure that I include everything, people say it's not that I hate teaching or I really love my job, it's just time for something else. I feel unsettled, I feel like I want to try something new if I don't do it now. And quite often it's women around my age. So I left teaching when I was 37. And it tends to be women that reach out to me who've been teaching for a long time, probably since finishing uni, and some have had kids, so they've had maternity leave and a break in that way, although it's not really a break because you're raising a tiny human. And some people just have a passion for something else, and that was my pathway. So people say it's not that I hate teaching, I don't like the constraints, I feel stuck, I feel exhausted, burnout, overwhelmed, it can be repetitive. People tend to jump about year groups if they want a bit of a change, but then they find it's just similar patterns that come up. I tend to hear people say those type of things when they get in touch about it. And also sometimes it's about growth, and a lot of people, of course, in the pandemic and everything, so many people had career changes and just had this thing of like, there must be more. And teaching's a funny one because there's so much meaning in it. When you're working with little people, or teenagers, adolescents, it can be so rewarding. But what's not rewarding is all the hard stuff that comes with it. And that's a lot of the accountability in terms of paperwork, the pressure of observations, the new initiatives, they haven't never been able to switch off, blah, 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 blah. Could talk about all those things for ages. And I know if you don't work in teaching and you're listening to this, you might be like, well, all work is like that, and it's true. And I have a friend who talks about this repeatedly about holidays and but it's when you're in it, you know. And if you're in it, this episode for you, because I know you'll understand. So what people struggle with, these are the main things people will say to me. I want to leave teaching, but one of the things is identity loss. I've been teaching since I left university. I've been teaching for 15, 20 years, 5 years. You only have to look at the recent retention rates in the UK, and of course out here and other places. People don't stay in teaching as long as they used to. Some people do, obviously, but the retention rates, people are leaving at a higher rate than ever before. So I'm like, that's cold hard data, and that's for a reason, you know. But again, for some people, and myself included, like, I was Miss Green, and I still meet parents and, you know, people who've became friends or people that I tutored their kids after leaving teaching, and they'll still call me Miss Green. I'll be like, please call me Ashley now, you know. But it's just, that was who I was for such a long time. And although I still work a lot in education, it just feels a bit different. I don't feel so tied to it like I did before, because I gave like my all to the school that I was in, and Miss Green just became like who I was. So some people struggle with that. Another thing is like the decision paralysis, or what will I do? What am I going to do? And that is one of the first things I would talk about where coaching can come in. So many of my clients that have came to me through this exact topic is like, you know, they might have a passion, but they might not be sure what they want to do. And coaching is one of those things that can support you through that. It's like finding what your pathway is, uncovering passions that have been dormant and lying beneath the surface for a really long time. I always ask people, clients, I'm like, well, what did you love when you were little? Like, you know, and many will have said things like, I want to be a singer, or I want to be a vet was a typical one. But, you know, when you delve a bit deeper and you dig in, sometimes you'll come across something that actually, that was a real passion when you were little. One of the things that I really loved, and probably most of us did this, was like, you know, just be out in nature, but making mud pies and spells and potion and perfume with like flower leaves and everything. But now I realise that actually nature is now a whole pillar of my business. And when I return to Scotland, or wherever I'm going to end up one day when I have my wellbeing centre, it'll be because I'm able to be immersed in nature. So it's almost like a full circle thing. So many of us have got passions or things that we've come across along the way before becoming a teacher or whatever, that connects to innately who we are, and that can be part of what your pathway looks like going forward. So what else would I do? You know, that's a big question and a big worry people have. But again, coaching can really support uncovering that. And there's the fear. Like, one of the other things is like, oh, it's all of knowing. I've been working in this way for 10 years, and, you know, the fear of the financial change that'll happen, the fear of whatever, you know. So two things about that. I feel like if there's not fear around a big decision, then it's, what am I trying to say? The discomfort is what makes you feel like, okay, so it's got to be uncomfortable. If it was easy, we would all do it. We would all change jobs frequently. We would all start new things. I'm not articulating this properly, but I hope you get what I'm meaning. The fear, this is what I always say to children when I'm coaching in one-to-one. The fear or the scared feeling lets us know that we can do something brave. We're just about to do something brave. So of course there's fear around leaving some secure job where you might have health insurance, you might have school places, different things. One of the things I always say there is, but you can always go back to teaching. It's not going anywhere. If whatever you do and you try and it doesn't work out, you can always go back to teaching. That's not what I want to do ever, but I know that the option is still going to be there, because, you know, I've been working on different things since I've left, and I know that if it comes to it, I can. So I'm not saying that'll never happen for me. It depends how Green Heart goes. But the fear around it is real, but also I love the thing about fortune favours the bold. Anything worth having doesn't come easy, and there's got to be a bit of a calculated risk. So again, that's where coaching can kind of help through that, as in talking about financial well-being, carving out pathways, looking at your passion, really looking at what the fear is, where does it come from, and how can we support that? What can we do to buffer that? One of the books that I've definitely talked about in one of my podcasts before, which was life-changing for me, is Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Jeffers. I just absolutely loved that book. Anyway, so fear is a big thing. And then, like I mentioned before, the practicalities of it and the overwhelm. Where will I get the money from? Where will I, if you live in the UAE or you're an expat somewhere, about your visa, things like that. Those were all the things that I used to tell myself I couldn't do because I wasn't married, I don't have a spousal visa, I don't have the security of another salary coming in. So I used lots of excuses for a long time. But again, I've done all of those things myself, the trade license, the visa, all of the stuff, and I've still managed. So again, that's another thing, a difference between mentoring and coaching. Like, of course, I could mentor someone along that pathway and share that information and say, here's how I did this, here's the process. But again, coaching can help you more around empowering yourself around the practicalities of that, using your own skill set to navigate that. So it is something that is a struggle, but again, you can get through the other side. So the other thing that people reach out for a lot, and initially this is how a lot of people that get in touch with me via Instagram or LinkedIn or sometimes through YouTube, is like for advice. They have questions around how did you do this and what did you do here and how did you do that? And those are the things that I'm so happy to talk about. I always get people still, like years and years later, I definitely feel like the University of East London, I should be getting a commission off them, the amount of people that got in touch about the Masters in Positive Psychology and Coaching Psychology. And it's very similar. It's like the fear around it, the practicality, like things like that, or advice, But sometimes the advice, it can be helpful, but again, it's just... It can be very short-lived in the sense, like you might hear some things that settle your mind in that moment, but then you might talk to a friend who's like, oh my gosh, never leave teaching. It's such a stable job and da-da-da. So there can be projections from others when, you seek advice or seek conversation. And typically it all comes from the right place, as in heart. People want you to do well and be safe and be comfortable. But when we speak to our friends and family for advice about things like this, it's it can be a bit overwhelming, and we feel their projections. If we look on Google and Instagram and stuff like that and just go by that kind of thing, again, it helps us make our own decisions and impacts our own thought processes. But again, like I was saying, everybody's journey is different. So the thing about coaching is the coach is with you, or if you're working with me, I'll be with you along the journey, but ultimately you're making the own decisions. So you can do all the research, you can talk about it with friends and family, but again, if you work with someone who has done something similar, or coaches in such a way that there's a support there and an accountability person there, but it also really feels empowering, like you can forge your own pathway, And like I said before, I had a coach during the process, and it was just so useful because all of the notes that we had together, the conversation, I would go away and reflect on it. I would have some tasks to do that then would help, that each one was like a little brick to build in the path. So yeah, I think although advice from friends and family is great, reaching out to people who've done similar is also great. I think coaching can be a real healthy addition to forging that pathway that you're trying to make. So again, just kind of on that, like coaching helps with so many things, and again, picking your coach depends a lot on what you're looking for. Like I said, many people come to me who are in the teaching industry and they want to leave, and because they know that I've done it. But really, a good coach, they don't need to be in that industry. They just need to be a good coach, as in they can ask the right question at the right time that gives you from a different perspective. So coaching can give you clarity around the process of leaving one career and finding another, or leaving teaching or one career and crafting your own job in another, or job crafting around the area of interest within teaching. Like I did coaching around job crafting with one of the professors actually from uni, and that was crafting the whole wellbeing role. So now many schools have got wellbeing roles and wellbeing people and people who've been taken out of the classroom to do wellbeing, which would have been my absolute dream. It just never happened. But I did a whole job crafting session of coaching sessions around that. So clarity is a big thing. Identity, finding yourself beyond teaching, what you want to do with life, maybe finding yourself again after becoming a parent, and all of a sudden you're a teacher, a parent, and a wife or a husband or a partner or whatever, and then you really feel like you've lost yourself for yourself, and knowing who you are on your own. So that's another big part of it. Decision making, again, I love to do creative coaching sessions where we do like doodling and art, and even with like little toys and different things, and just make it a bit more creative, and that can help with decision making. Talking out, when do you ever really, this is something I notice, when do you ever really give yourself a whole hour where you're talking about just yourself? And coaching provides that, where you sit and you don't have to think about anyone else. You're speaking with the coach, and coaching, you should be doing the most talking. Like the coach should just be asking the right questions at the right time. So it should be something like, they say 20% coach time, 80% coachee. So when you're making decisions, like think how useful that would be if that whole hour is based around one decision, but it's your voice and someone who's out with your immediate world helping you reach that decision by listening and questioning at the right time. And something else again I think can be really useful around this type of work is the next steps. So going away with a clear step towards the main goal, the big goal, say for example, which is leaving teaching, but then one of the steps towards that. One of the things we used to talk about with the kids was, how would you eat an elephant? Like one bite at a time. Not that you would eat an elephant, but it was like to emphasize something can feel so giant, but actually you manage it by just doing little bits at a time. So that's what coaching can help with. And coaching doesn't tell you what to do. It helps you hear yourself. And this is some real there needs to be some real distinctive differences between what mentoring is and coaching is. And that's one of the things, mentoring will be maybe within your same industry or organization, somebody that's forged the pathway. So again, I could mentor someone on the steps, but I don't feel it's as powerful as coaching can be for something like this. Anyway, it helps you hear yourself more clearly. So I've only want to talk for another couple of minutes about my own approach. It's like 14 years of teaching, 12 of them in Dubai, and I've lived that transition. To be honest, I often think that I should have done it a lot sooner, but again, I didn't do all the things that I've talked about in this episode. Like it took me a really long time to find the pathway, and I wish that I'd have done it way before now, but I haven't, and I just need to accept that it's all happened this way for a reason. But also do your research when you're looking for a coach, again, and I'm really, what's the right word about this? I can't even think what the right word is. I'm quite precious about it, because of course you can find someone who's done a coaching course online over a weekend and then can become a life coach, but then you'll have coaches that have done real accredited courses, or have a specific area of coaching, like transformational coaching, leadership coaching. They've studied in that area. And then again, the course that I did and that I talked about earlier, it's half of the master's was coaching psychology. So there's the psychological element of how coaching can support, and the wellbeing science that contributes to it. So there's lots of different people out there. My advice would be, find someone that resonates, find someone that you feel you trust from what you've seen on their online platforms. Reach out, have a chat with them. Most coaches do like a discovery call, and let them know what you're looking for, and they can outline how they would approach that. And remember, the coaching space or the hour that you do, it's like a thinking space. It's not to fix anything. It's to help you hear yourself and give yourself space, and then really put some intentional focused time on this thing that you want to do. Because it's really easy, and I did it myself, like I said, for many years, be like, what would it look like if? Should I do it? Will I do one more year in teaching? One more year, and then you take that pressure off. But actually, it's because it's scary. It's scary to look at it, but if you want to do it, you're going to have to do it sometime. So it's like, yeah, think about making it an intentional decision, because it is easy to stay in the comfort zone, and it's also fine to stay there. It's not that you shouldn't, but if you've got this thing tapping your shoulder constantly, then maybe it is time to look into it. So yeah, takeaways. I've got on here, you don't need the next job yet. And that's actually not what I meant to write. A lot of the time, there's like a transition or an overlap within the transition. That's what I'm trying to say. So wellbeing was my thing for like 6 or 7 years as a wellbeing leader in the school that I was in last. And while I was teaching, I did the masters and everything, and did all the conferences, and was really like a bit obsessive about it, and like talked about well-being all the time. But what I'm trying to say is, sometimes you can make space for an overlap while you're doing the old thing that you're leaving soon, and then the new thing which you want to be working in full time, and then you can do like an overlap period. So there's a time when you're doing both. So what I'm trying to say when I've written you don't need the next job yet, what I'm meaning is, it doesn't need to be all ready and prepared, the thing that you're going to do. You're going to build that, or join a different industry, but there's a way, that little overlap time in the middle where you can kind of do both. So it might be studying something, or if you're an art person and you want to have products that you create, then you can start dedicating some time to that each week. So you're building up your products, like whatever it might be, enjoying little markets or stuff. But again, that's something you could talk through in coaching. But just think about, what would the overlap period look like, with the ultimate main goal, the elephant at the end of it. Like, what would be some of the little steps that you would do in the overlap? So then leaving teaching doesn't need to be all or nothing. It feels so drastic, but it doesn't have to be. And I love to say to people, I'm living proof that it can be done, and it can be done independently. It can be done on your own. Of course, money and all that comes into it. But again, it's looking at what you've got now and working with that, and how you do that. How do you start from where you are? It might be you need to do 1 more year or 2 more years with a savings plan, plus the overlap of skill-based whatever, but that's something that you can talk about with the coach. If you've got that feeling of being stuck, or that feeling of discomfort of being in the same place, then something does need to change. I can't even remember, it was Tony Robbins or something, when the feeling of discomfort becomes more painful than the way of staying, or the pain of staying the same. So it's like the butterfly in the cocoon. It's like such a struggle to get out, but when it does come out, that's when the wings spread and it's able to breathe and move on and be different, So if you've got that real feeling of stuckness, then it's probably your body or your soul telling you it's time to try something different. yeah, and you don't have to do it alone. There's always support out there. And I know it sounds like I'm plugging my coaching services here, but I am, because it's like part of my business. This is why I left teaching, to do this stuff and connect it all to well-being. I probably let myself get to the point where I was definitely burnt out, but I'd probably say there was parts of me that weren't feeling as well, because it was time for me to move on, probably way before that I did. So yeah, like, you don't have to do it alone. There's things that you can support yourself with. And also, I also say, like, coaching is an investment in yourself. It's like, I imagine if you're a parent, or, you've lived with a family, or whatever it might be, it's like, we invest in ourselves in some ways. Like, I know friends who'll maybe get their nails done all the time, or have a massage and whatever. And I'm like, yeah, that's a really lovely treat. But one of the things, and I don't know if it's because my top strength is love of learning, but I always feel now the investment in myself through when I studied again at uni, or when I invest in a course like my forest skill course that I'm doing just now. It's actually an investment in your own growth, and coaching is part of that. At some point in the near future, I'm going to invest in my own growth by getting a business coach. I'm just not quite there yet. There's a few things that I want to do before, and earn some more money business-wise before I can do that. But again, I see it as invaluable because it's part of my growth pathway. So yeah, I hope I made sense in this episode. I feel like I just switched the phone on, looked at my doodles really quickly, and blah, 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 blah. I just talked a lot. But anyway, if you're looking for coaching and around changing your career, or anything that I've said resonates with you, get in touch. There's loads of ways that you can get in touch with me. And please share this episode with someone that you think would like it. And yeah, looking forward to hearing from you. Take care.